Hey everyone, welcome back. I wanted to have a quick chat with you all about the recent collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Now, the reason for these bank failures is incredibly complex and has a lot to do with the inherent risks of the fractional reserve system, as well as what I think were some questionable risk assessment decisions regarding a large investment in long-term securities. But honestly, there are better people here on YouTube and across the internet who have a much better grasp of the delicate intricacies of the fractional reserve banking system. So, if you want to know more about that, I highly advise you to go out and seek out other resources who are just a little bit better equipped to discuss these things in the detail that they deserve. However, what I want to talk about is a very curious argument being made by some on the right that these banks actually collapsed because of woke capitalism, essentially saying that the bank managers were more interested in things like diversity and inclusivity and weren't actually paying attention to what it takes to run a bank. So what I want to get into today is why they keep making this argument regarding a bunch of different businesses and why it really doesn't make any sense. So what does it mean to be a woke capitalist? Well, being woke is just a slang term that people on the right use to describe other people whose values they don't agree with, and being a capitalist just means you run a business that produces a good or provides a service. So, if you were a woke capitalist, for example, you might allow your employees to be openly LGBTQ while on the job. You might also be a woke capitalist if you spend a little bit too much time considering the environmental impact of your industry. Heck, you could even be a woke capitalist if you run an entertainment establishment like a bar and you say, hey, you know what, tonight we're going to have a drag show in place of our regular entertainment. There's a whole bunch of other things that could fall under the banner of woke capitalism, but at the end of the day, it just means that you are someone who is running a business and they don't like the way you're running it. So why is it bad to be a woke capitalist? Well, the core argument that people on the right want to make is that you end up getting distracted by all this diversity and inclusivity, and you fail to attend to the core operations of your business, your profitability decreases, and eventually you go out of business. Hence the phrase, go woke, go broke. This comes from a very Ayn Rand view of capitalism and corporations where the business only exists to generate profit and should do so in the most efficient manner regardless of any other factors. Now, that's a wonderful theoretical framework, but in reality, when companies are discussing what values they want to project, I think the conversations look a little bit more like this clip from the Christmas classic, Miracle on 34th Street.
Now to continue, gentlemen, I admit that on the face of it, this plan sounds idiotic and impossible. Imagine Macy's Santa Claus sending customers to Gimbals. Oh, but gentlemen, you cannot argue with success. Look at this. Telegrams, messages, telephone calls, the governor's wife, the mayor's wife. Over 500 thankful parents expressing undying gratitude to Macy's. Never in my entire career have I seen such a tremendous and immediate response to a merchandising policy. And I'm positive, Frank, that if we expand our policy, we'll expand our results as well. Therefore, from now on, not only will our Santa Claus continue in this manner, but I want every salesperson in this store to do precisely the same thing. If we haven't got exactly what the customer wants, we'll send him where he can get it. No high pressuring and forcing a customer to take something he doesn't really want. But after all, that would be known as the helpful store, the friendly store, the store with a heart, the store that places public service ahead of profits. And consequently, we'll make more profits than ever before.
Now, that might be one of the most cynical portrayals of the intersection between values and capitalism that I've ever seen, but you can't deny that it's accurate. At the end of the day, you are a lot more likely to give your money to a company that you feel has the same values that you do. It's the reason I don't shop at Hobby Lobby, because they are anti-LGBTQ, they are anti-abortion, and they continue to traffic in stolen antiquities, and I do not appreciate that. But there are a lot of people who do, and they're fine with that, so that's the customer base that Hobby Lobby caters to. And I'm okay with that. I'm just not going to shop there. And companies are always doing this. They're looking at market research. They're looking at national polling data, especially when it comes to social issues. Take, for example, abortion. 70% of people say that it should be legal. 30% of people oppose it. So if a company has to take a stand, they're going to take the 70% over the 30%, purely because that's what's going to annoy the fewest number of customers. And it's going to make those 70% more loyal customers. At least that's the hope. So, as the country trends a little bit more to the left every year, as we can see from national polling and national election results, companies are going to shift that way too, because that's where the customers are. Another aspect of a business's operations that could be impacted by their political stances or values is their ability to attract the right kind of employees. A good example of this was the company Eli Lilly, which is based out of the state of Indiana. Now, they were going to build a new production facility there, but after Indiana enacted its abortion ban, the company decided to move that facility elsewhere. And the reason they gave was that they weren't going to be able to attract the kind of people they needed to run the plant under Indiana's abortion ban. So, essentially, they said, we can't operate our business here, so we're going to take all of our tax revenue and bring it to a state that does allow people the freedom to access abortion-related care. So, businesses are going to make what might appear to be woke decisions simply based on the fact that they need certain kinds of employees, and the kinds of employees they're looking for have a certain set of values. So if the company can't place them in a setting where those values are going to be respected, the employees aren't going to go to these companies. So, based on that analysis, it does make sense that companies are going to shift towards the left in their public presenting values. However, there are other companies that are moving to the right, so let's explore how well they're doing. One of the first ones we're going to look at is Walgreens Pharmacy. Now, their shift towards the right is more of a compliance with certain red state laws, as they've been threatened by several red state attorneys general with lawsuits over the fact that they provide certain medications that are used in abortions. And they decided, based on the legal threats made against them, that they were going to no longer stock this pill, even in states where abortions are legal. And then the state of California said, that's a business decision you can make, but we will no longer do business with you as the state of California, which is the business decision that it has the right to make. And I'm sure at the next Walgreens shareholder meeting there will be a vibrant discussion over which of these is going to be more impactful. The loss of business from the state of California, or the cost of all of the lawsuits from the various red states. The DOJ has said that they do not think that the red states have any ground to stand on, but Walgreens has to make that decision as a company, and for right now, they are shifting a bit more to the right, and in that shift, it has cost them a significant amount of business, but we'll have to see how that shakes out. But now let's move on to more strictly right-wing businesses. These are businesses that have came in to fill the gap that has been left by companies going too woke, so they tend to portray themselves as very right-wing, some of them outright claiming the MAGA title. On the one hand, you have social media clones, especially Twitter clones, Parler, which rose and then fell, and currently Truth Social, which limps on but has yet to show any signs of profitability and is currently under investigation for a couple of different counts of securities and investment fraud. Then you also have another massive failure of an industry for conservatives, which is conservative dating apps. Now, I don't mean apps like Christian Mingle, because that's actually focused on being a Christian. I'm talking about things like The Right Stuff, which is actively focused on one's political viewpoints. There's been a number of different dating apps that have been made, especially for conservatives, and they have risen and fallen very quickly, and none of them have ever been successful, simply because the male-to-female ratio doesn't seem to work out for some reason. Wonder why that is. But I think my absolute favorite far-right themed business that ever rose and fell was a bank called Glorify. Glri, capital Fi. And they came out as this ultra-MAGA bank, and they were going to provide a series of specialty services in addition to the normal things you would accept from a bank, like savings, checkings, mortgages, etc. When you got your ATM card, it was going to be made out of the same metal that they used to make shell casings. You would be able to get a discount on your homeowner's insurance if you were a gun owner. And there was even a special kind of insurance that you were going to be able to purchase if you were a gun owner that would protect you in case that you had to use your firearm against someone in self-defense, and the bank would come in and actually pay all of your legal fees, which, that's pretty cool. I could definitely see that appealing to a right-wing audience, certainly something they'd be interested in. And so the bank had a pretty flashy opening, and then 3 months later it was gone, completely and utterly. It did not get off the ground because no one was actually willing to put their money where their mouth was, and the business very quickly dissolved. It also had a couple of issues with the tech, like the fact that the metal cards made out of shell casings wouldn't actually work because the metal in the casings interfered with the RFID chip, and there was a whole bunch of other issues that they had with starting up the company. But at the end of the day, they really didn't have anything that the market really wanted. So I think the lesson we can take from this is that corporations' values are really based on how they're interacting with their customers and employees, and how they can continue to make their process profitable. Now, yeah, there are going to be businesses that are going to take various political stances based on other things, such as their ownership or specific interests that they might have in a given state or even within the broader country. But at the end of the day, corporations do still care about making money, and they're going to make their decisions based on what's going to get them the most customers and the best employees. And based on the public record, you might lose some customers here and there if you do decide to go woke, but if you go hard on the anti-woke, you're most definitely going to end up going broke. Think about it.